Gosh, I love technology. Here I am hurtling myself through space in this vehicle and also transmitting my thoughts that is being received by everybody listening. And I was just thinking how great it is to have a purpose of living. I remember being younger and contemplating that question, what is the purpose of life? And I always used to think that was an unanswerable question, because me being programmed in the school system, I thought at the time that there had to be one answer, and that there is only one answer. Guys, if you have questions, I'm seeing them rolling in, which is amazing. Put them in the question bubble in the bottom, because I can't really stare at the screen and see the comments like I normally do. So just put them in the bubble. I'm seeing a lot of them. Am I going to Burning Man? The answer is no. I also shouldn't be touching my phone right now while driving. There's just a bunch of questions, which is amazing. I will get to them. Just put them in the bubble below. We've got a long drive. I just drove down to Purium Corporate to pick up a bunch of Power Shake because Carol and I are going to events in Canada where we host a Purium table, hand out samples, collect information, and that's essentially our careers. We help people who help people. So we help people primarily, and then we also help people who help people with their health, because functional human beings is necessary for a functional society. And so that's one of the missions. Main mission is to get people to know themselves in all aspects, and one of those aspects is the physical body. So let's keep the physical body healthy in a very simple way. And so we are aligned with Purium because Purium is aligned with our values and intentions. Having a purpose for life. I used to think that there was an answer for that, right? What is the meaning of life? There is one answer. But that's all just a program for us to think that there's only one answer. Regarding Purium, I sometimes train the entire field, and we're made up of a bunch of brand partners, and every single one of them, it's multi-level marketing or network marketing, and essentially everybody starts at zero. 0 customers, 0 brand partners, and we build. Just like you build any other business. We work as entrepreneurs, and it's up to us to attain a market. That's essentially what we are for Purium. Purium is our vendor, and we attain our own customers, and we also attain other people that can attain customers. And we get paid a commission on everything that we do for life, because Purium wouldn't have that customer and or that brand partner who can attain more customers if it wasn't for us. And that's how this profession works. And because we all start at 0 and we get paid for performance, that means that the paycheck, the impact, the gratification of, I'll say one more thing, the success of the brand partners depends on our ability to get up every single day and do the action. And in order for us to do the action, we must be aligned in our thoughts and our emotions. And it was the same thing when I owned a business. I had employees. Same thing. It's beneficial if your employees are aligned to the mission. If they are not aligned to the mission, they're coming to work resisting the work. And so if everybody's on the same ship, rowing in the same direction, with enthusiasm, with passion, with purpose, the ship goes into the direction more successfully. And in order for that to happen, every single person gets to create their own reason, their own purpose for being here. Everything in life is voluntary, okay? I mean, even if you're working a job, you can quit any single day, but it's less voluntary. But if you work in a business like multi-level marketing or network marketing, and that's definitely volunteer. You don't have to do anything. If you're just a business owner, period, it's volunteer. You don't have a boss. You get to determine how much effort you put into it. The caveat is the success for your business kind of needs you to put in effort. And so if you wish to be successful, it's up to you to align yourself to success. And the best way to do that is to create a purpose. It's to create what they call a why. And everybody gets to do that in a different way. Everyone gets to determine why they're doing what they're doing in a way that makes sense to them. And I recommend everybody do this, whether you're an employee, whether you're an entrepreneur. It's going to allow you to get over the boredom. It's going to allow you to get over the sticky points. It's going to allow you to get over those tough, challenging moments in your consistent effort that's necessary for your success. Consistency is the most important part. Get up every single day, do a little bit or a lot every single day, and after 5 years, you're going to see how much further you've gone. If you want to own a gym, start by being a personal trainer. Start training people. It doesn't even matter if it's for free or if it's you're charging. Just start training people. Start learning. Start doing it every single day. Figure out how you can put yourself in front of people over and over and over and over and over again. And eventually you're going to start solving problems. How can I solve this person's problem in a more efficient way? And then you're going to have a bunch of people. And then the question is going to be, how can I solve the problem of having all of these people in the park when wintertime's coming up? Maybe solving that problem is going to be moving into a warehouse, or finding a space that you can rent from, or creating your own space, or clearing off room in your garage, or going completely online. And as you just consistently move forward, you continue to solve problems. And as they say, the bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. Having a reason for doing that is going to keep you consistently doing it. So back to life. What is the meaning of life? Just like I teach the Purium brand partners in my organization and even in the whole field of Purium, one of the primary things we need is a why. Why are we doing this? A lot of people, it's to spread health in Purium. For me, it's not about that. I own gyms for 10 years. I've done the getting people healthy thing. That's not why I'm drawn to Purium. I'm drawn to Purium because I'm into self-development. And owning a gym, teaching people how to do push-ups, teaching them about diet, teaching them how to get healthy, that's a certain level of development that's gratifying to me. But it's kind of been there, done that for me. It's been my entire life. For me, we start getting into the money game, into the manifestation game, into the I would like to change my life circumstance and to be in a different place. That requires a whole bunch of different overcoming of obstacles, overcoming of challenges. And that's why I love this profession of network marketing, is because we support people to set a vision and then we watch them manifest it. And in the end, if you're both successful, everyone gets paid. So they sit down at a table with me and we build something together, as opposed to what I could be doing, which is charging people for an outcome by me telling them, or doing some sort of talk therapy or drills like I have in my Skillful Psyche sessions that you can purchase for a small monthly fee. Nobody really gets to purchase me hourly or anything like that. I don't do one-on-ones unless somebody's working in Purium with me. But it's more of a partnership than it is a mentorship. I think the best option, this is a question from Queen Anahit. Does that mean Queen Heart? I think the best option would have been to go live so that you can answer these questions live for others to listen to, because they or we send you questions in the question box, then others are not going to hear your answers. I think it should be more of an open forum answers. I appreciate your input. I went live 3 times 3 times yesterday. Not while driving a car, not while requesting somebody to put questions in the place where they go. And now I'm going live and I'm requesting people put the questions in where they belong, in that bubble in the bottom of the screen with the question mark. Did you own your gyms alone or with others? And I'm still catching comments. I'm just not going to see them all because I'm also watching the road. Did I own the gym alone or with others? I owned the gym completely alone until the last 6 months when I had an idea to create an Equinox quality gym. And so I partnered with these 2 guys. And essentially what that was they helped me realize the vision of not owning gyms anymore, because that partnership tanked the business that I had for 9.5 years. It tanked the business in 6 months. Basically, the deal was I was going to bring tens of thousands of dollars a month worth of clients. That was my buy-in to the partnership. One partner, he had a network. Networks are very valuable. He had a network built up over decades of his professional work where he knew almost all of the building owners in downtown LA. And so he found a space. He found a few spaces, and we basically got to pick so that we could upgrade my current gym members' experience into basically a double the size facility. And then another partner's role was to be the contractor. And through these 6 months of navigating, promises were made that weren't kept. We moved all of our members to a new gym that was supposed to be done in a couple weeks. It ended up never, ever being finished. And so I eventually was like, hey, members, go to this other gym. Have an amazing time. I'm peacing out because I can see that this whole new gym idea was a bridge to get me to my true intention, which was to stop owning gyms, because it was inefficient for me. It was once a dream, and it's so important for you guys to always reassess your intentions, because I had an intention to own a gym when I lived in Michigan. I moved to California. I made it happen within did it take 2 years? It took 2 years for me to move to California with nothing. And I mean, I had a motorcycle and 5 pieces of luggage. And within 2 years, within a year or so, I was training people, and I had a 1-bedroom apartment that I got because I became a building manager. And I got that because I was training somebody in a personal training gym, and I met somebody who sells a bunch of apartment leases to USC students. This guy is still a friend of mine, and he allowed me to manage an apartment, which means I don't pay for it, which was important, just moving to LA. But in trade, I would have to work and manage the apartment and also sell apartment leases during the entire middle part of my day. So when I started owning my gyms, I was training people. I was waking up at 5. My first client was 5:30 to 6:30, then 6:30 to 7:30, then 7:30 to 8:30. Then I had space where I worked selling apartment leases basically from like 9 to 3, 4, 5-ish, and then I would go back to my apartment where I had clients 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., sometimes 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And so I was making, and that was pretty much Monday through Friday. I didn't work on weekends. And so I was making about 100 G's just from my personal training clients. And this was 15, 16 years ago. So if you train people at $75 an hour and you have 10 clients, that's about $2,000 a week, which is about $100,000 a year. And the way that breaks down is 10 clients. Most of them were on 3 times a week. Some of them were on 2 times a week. But around 10 is where I noticed I would get to the goal, which was $2,000 a week. And then on top of that, I'm also selling apartment leases that I am learning the skill of sales, which if I knew what I knew now back then, I would have sold every single person that walked in that door. But I knew nothing. I knew how to just show somebody something and say, this is how much it cost. Here's the contract if you're ready. And so, anyways, I did make a lot of money with the leases. It did get me out of my comfort zone because I had major negative connotation with sales. And I did that. How long did I do that for? And so the way the apartment leases worked is every lease I got either like $100 to $300 commission. And so I was making maybe, I'm just trying to guess, maybe like an X. And it was really the sales part, because it was the USC students, was really in the summertime because we're selling people for the next year. And then in the school season, I was managing like the entire maintenance staff. I don't think I got paid anything for that. It's just something I liked to do, leadership, right? And I was bad at that because I wasn't a maintenance expert. So admittedly, I was bad at that. I got replaced by Romeo, I believe was the person that came in and replaced me on that. But I was managing a lot. I was managing like 8 apartment complexes in the winter time, and the entire maintenance staff for a little bit in the school season. So I basically had essentially like the equivalent of a full-time job, and then I was training people from 5:30 to 8:30 in the morning, and then 6, 7, and 8 p.m. at nighttime, making 100 G's from that. I don't know, 75 to 100 from the apartment deal. That's how I built my gym. Is every single day I was doing that, and every single dollar, because I was so busy, I wasn't spending my money on stupid stuff. Every single dollar, I wasn't going out. I wasn't doing anything that my one friend was doing, which was going out and partying and making friends with the promoters and Hollywood. And I was just working out and training people and selling. And every dollar, I started buying more equipment. Every single morning, I would get up at 5 a.m., go to the toilet, open my phone, go on Craigslist, and I would search the words kettle, kettlebells, kettlebell, bar, barbell, concept, concept 2, rowing machine, dumbbell, dumbbells, rubber mats, floor mats, gym mats, squat rack, power rack, squat racks. I was literally, when I needed a piece of equipment, I would just not Google, Craigslist, go to the sporting goods section, and I was just looking every variation of that word, because that's what you need to do on Craigslist. Because if someone puts kettlebells and you're searching the word, or somebody puts kettlebell and you're searching the word kettlebells, it's not going to come up. So I was searching all these different words on the toilet at 5 a.m. every single morning, and I got a feel of what was cheap. For me at the time, a quarter, 25 cents per pound was a good price to pay for steel, for weights. And so if there was a 100-pound dumbbell being sold for $25, that was a very good deal. Very few people do that. Everyone wants more, like $1 a pound. But I'm trying to save every single dollar. And this is what I did to build my gyms. Every single morning, I would go on Craigslist and I would search for what I would needed. Concept 2, I already said this, rowing machine, until I found a Concept 2 rowing machine, which is the best of the best. Instead of paying $1,000 to $1,300 for it, I'm waiting. There's one for sale for $800, $900, $700, $1,000, but I'm waiting for the one that somebody doesn't know the value of and is trying to sell for $300 or $400, and then that's the one that I purchase. And I'm doing the same with every little piece, and that's how I built my gym, piece by piece, as cheap as possible. I remember picking up plyo boxes, steel plyo boxes, and putting them on top of my Volkswagen Jetta car, like 3 huge steel plyo boxes strapped to the top of my car. I remember picking up a squat rack, fitting the whole thing into my Volkswagen Jetta, like pieces upon pieces. I remember then eventually buying a truck, and one of the first trips I made from a truck was driving 100 miles to pick up free tractor tires when I eventually moved into my gym, which I'll get to in a second, which I'll actually check out questions because I could just keep on going about how I built my gyms. But this is what it takes, right? You guys see the consistency. It's always about consistency. Why am I searching for the cheapest piece of equipment but the best quality? Why am I putting in the effort? Because the vision was to own gyms. I moved to California to own gyms. I didn't move to California to move to California. I wasn't just seeing what was next. And that's a very important thing. Have a long-term vision. What is the purpose? What direction are you going? Don't go through life just seeing what's next. When you see what's next, you're going to fall into somebody else's funnel. You're going to become a tool of somebody else. Because it's very easy to convince somebody without a direction to join you. Super easy. Because we're influenced by people that are in alignment. The Heart Math Institute has done studies where they look at people in apartments, and they're seeing that the people above and below and to the side are all influencing each other. Their emotional states are being influenced. Their fields of energy are being influenced by their neighbors. And so then they start looking at, well, who's doing the influencing? It's the ones that are in the most alignment. Head brain, heart brain. I would even say gut brain and actions go into that. Most alignment. We get moved by alignment, by passion. This is why people go to sporting events, because you sit there and you watch people in alignment. They're sprinting their balls out, literally, going towards a goal. And that's inspiring to watch. It takes all of the audience, and you get wrapped up into their field. 100,000 people could be watching 5 people. 100,000 people could be watching one person sing. Michael Jackson, completely in alignment. He's so in alignment, he's in alignment with reality. Everything around him is tuned to his field. He's channeling even. It's like it's a funnel. This person's in alignment going in one direction. Not only is all of the physical entities on this dimension attuned to him, reality itself, the universe itself, is pouring energy into him, the ideas into him, because he multiplies the value of what goes in. He multiplies it. It gets duplicated into reality. Purpose gives us that. It gives us that mission-oriented, long-term vision to allow us to say no to our friends who we keep around to make us laugh, who want to just go to the bar. We say no to the people that really mean well in our life, like our family, but right now you're taking some time for the benefit of your future lineage. You say no to maybe eating that extra meal because you got to keep on working for 40 more minutes. You say no to sleeping for 10 hours a night. Maybe you cut back for 4 hours for the next 2 years. Yeah, your health's going to degrade. Yeah, we make compromises. Sometimes that's necessary if we have that idea of what's possible. Obviously, this can all be done the easy way as well, but that all is just going to determine on ultimately what your purpose is. Questions in the bubble box, my peeps. Would not recommend cutting sleep to 4 hours. Yeah, depends how old you are. I would recommend cutting sleep to 4 hours if you're 18 years old. Absolutely. That's the benefit that you have in the workplace. Absolutely. You're 17, you're 16, you're 15 years old. Guess what? You're going to be sleeping 4 hours a night anyways, doing stupid stuff, staying up till sunrise, drinking. You do not have the same knowledge as the 37-year-olds, as the 45-year-olds that are within reality. You staying up and using your life force energy to your purpose and passion, that's where you can shine as a young person. As a 37, 45, 55-year-old, no, it doesn't make sense to sleep 4 hours. It makes sense for you to be more disciplined and make smarter choices that allow you to keep track of your health and not risk your body, not sacrifice your body, because your greatest instrument is not your physical body. Or your greatest asset is not going to be what you can do with your body. It's not going to be hustling. It's going to be other things like your network. And so you being in peak physical condition to have conversations with people that enrich them, so that they want you around, so that they want you on their team, so that they can trust you. That's what's going to be most important for an older person. Just as an example, you being sleep deprived does not add value to that agenda. And so when I'm speaking, some of this stuff is contradictory depending on who you are. Yeah, so thank you. He said that was from a perspective of a 30-year-old, someone in their 30s is the person who commented. This is huge, what you're saying, to understand this, an athlete or performer or whatever. CJ's, who is a big wave surfer, a pro big wave surfer, is saying, this is huge, what you're saying, to understand this as an athlete or performer or whatever. I don't really understand that though, CJ. Hey Ra, our stories have widely similar roots. I sold my gym 2 years... Austin, what's up, dude? I sold my gym 2 years ago and have struggled to find my next meaningful career. Any recommendations on how to get out of the rut that I'm in? First of all, back to purpose and passion. Right now you're calling it a rut. Okay, so that's the same as somebody with a job saying that their job sucks. The only way out of a job that sucks is to find why you love your job, why you love existence as you are. That's going to train you. It's going to entrain you and the field that you keep around you to that energy. And so I would start by reframing what you're doing right now. For me, it was 2 years to decompress from owning a gym. And in that decompression, it was freaking awesome. It was super awesome to not work, to go sit under waterfalls, to hang out with my friends, to have conversations, to develop new friends, to literally shed my muscle and explore life and quit shaving and cutting my hair and not have to talk about diet and exercise and how to do a ring muscle up and not have to talk to people all day long and what else in life is there. That was amazing. It was amazing. And I appreciated that so much. And that was exactly what my soul was calling for. And so, Austin, live in this moment as full as possible. As full as possible. And in that energy and essence, that's where you're going to find the direction that's going to give you more of that. It's going to give you more wonder and joy and a new mission. You're going to find a new mission like that. But trying to force that in, and I'm not saying you're like this, I'm just kind of going off right now, but trying to force in, I must find something to do to, again, I'm not saying you're doing this, Austin, but I'm just giving you an example, like trying to I must find, holding on, I must find something to do. Usually when you're holding on, you're trying to force, you're holding on to who you are. And you're not going to go into another reality being who you are. It has to come with shedding. The biggest part of creation is to let go of who you were. You must let go. You're holding on to it. It's like you're trying to bring who you were forward. You're like, okay, what's a better match for me? What's better for me now? Like, no, you become better. You change. And then in that alignment, you have the eyes to recognize what's next, because you're different now and you end up in a different environment, and now you see things through different eyes and you become different. You don't get to go into a new aspect of reality being the same person. I hope that helps. Just reframe how you're looking at this rut situation. Matthias is also here. What's up, bro? Matthias, if you're still here, I'm not sure, used to work in the banking system, and I'm not getting this completely accurate, in Switzerland. Then he moved to I don't want to tell his whole life story, but essentially he's very accomplished and famous breathwork practitioner in Europe right now. And that is a different version of him as a banker. And then he eventually partially owned a talent agency. And he got out of the country that he grew up in, and he moved to California, where he met me. I was actually the first person he met in California. He walked into my gym, and then we became like instant friends. And through all of that, he's now in a different reality where he's now doing different things. And so for me, after I closed my gyms, I went on a journey to see who I was without the gyms. I ate as little amount of protein as possible. I quit working out, stopped cutting my hair, stopped cutting my face for 5 years. And I let go of any attachment of what was next. I started some projects. I started a nonprofit. I was a co-president of a nonprofit called the Human Network. The goal was to end human suffering. Didn't work out, as you guys all know. Or, not to end human suffering. That's Purium's mission. The goal of the Human Network was to end capitalism, which that didn't work out. Nobody was really interested in jumping on board on that. And then I partnered with this other guy, and we are going to build something that was similar to what Alo ended up coming with yoga, but it was before Alo was even a thing, or Kodiak. That was our intention. It was the Peloton of like yoga, like creating a Peloton style brand with yoga. Now that I think about it, even though we lost $200,000 doing it, if we would have kept on going, if we would have stayed consistent on that in 2000, I think we kind of pulled out 2018. We essentially quit. If we would have kept on going on that 2018, we would have blown up for COVID. That would have blown up, but we stopped. And so this consistency, we didn't have strong enough whys. We didn't have strong enough ties to the mission. And also him and I weren't really in alignment to the mission, which made us weak as a partnership. And so ultimately, I now know if I'm going to get into a partnership, everything needs to be in alignment. And then eventually Purium came into my life. And when I closed my gyms, I wrote down a list of all the things that I wanted in my next business. And it was no location dependence, no overhead, no employees. Those are my top 3 things. And then I also had like wish list things like 100x my investment within 2 years, be able to sell the business if I would like to within 2 years, be able to travel the world. I had all this thing, and so I tried the nonprofit, I tried the partnership with this vision, this big, huge, both of these had big, huge, massive visions, and I was ignoring Purium, which was being kind of like floating around. And then I eventually realized, like, wow, network marketing, I did it when I was 21 with Amway, and basically got like it was like just paid $500 and did nothing. And so I had a bad taste in my mouth about this industry. And then eventually I'm like looking at Purium, I'm like, oh wow, this business is everything that I wrote down after I closed my gym. It's possible in this business. I have no location dependence. I can live wherever I want. I have no employees. I no longer hire people and try to extract as much profit off them as possible. I actually partner with people, and I'm only successful if they're successful. And they have just as much of ability to be wealthy than I do. That's what I hated about employees, is that all these people were my friends. I'd bring them into work with me, and they all go struggling to pay their bills. They would never ever be able to live the lifestyle that I was living as the boss. With Purium, they get to. We can make way more money than the people that enroll us, because we all start at the same place. And there's no overhead in the gyms. Austin, you know, there's $20,000 to $50,000 a month in bills, depending on the size of your gym. And it could literally even be like $70,000 of bills if you're bringing in like $150K a month or $100K a month. And sometimes those bills are more than the membership fees that you're bringing in. And so I didn't want any of that. And here's a very surprising thing about closing down a business. It's difficult to do. It's difficult to do when you build in a community and you poured your heart and soul into something, and now you're tied to it, and you're tied to the bills, and you're tied to the lease, and you're tied to last year's taxes that you have to pay this year, and you're tied to all the members who are now friends with each other and they go on vacation with each other, and you're just tied to the routine. I think that closing a business was actually harder than starting a business. And so when you actually successfully close a business, I would even say that it's more gratifying than starting a business, because all of the pressure that you feel, it starts to unwind. And I remember the first thing I did when I closed my gym is I went and I stayed on a farm. A month or 3 months, it was a long time. My good friend JP's partner, dad, owned a super organic farm, and I went to go stay there and just decompress. Didn't talk to anybody. There was 2 other humans staying on the farm. It was just me and the animals. I had one job: feed some animals in the morning. And then the rest of the day, I just read books and chilled out with some animals. And I remember 3 weeks into that, I think I was laying in bed, and I felt my shoulders drop. Like I actually felt my scapulas drop from the position they were in. Just like melt down. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was tension. That was tension that was being stored in my traps. I wasn't actively stretching. I wasn't actively doing anything. It was 3 weeks of not worrying about the toilet being clogged, not worrying about the 20 people that I owe paychecks to, not worrying about the taxes that are building up. If I close this gym, how am I going to pay them? Not worrying about the parking lot that I have to pay thousands of dollars that are taking away my profits of my clients, and I need to pay for the parking lot. Not worrying about the building that's leaking every single time it rains, and it's not my building, so what am I going to do? And is there mold building? Not worrying about all my stuff that's in the gym, and what do I do with it if I close it? Not worrying about anything. All that just went away. Actually, the first thing I did was went to Mount Shasta for a week, and then I went to the farm, or maybe I went to Mount Shasta after. I think after the farm I went to Mount Shasta. No, I went to the Mount Shasta first. I was being used as a part of a meditation group with this guy that goes around the earth, Richard. He goes around the earth with his partner, and they activate sacred sites using people in the area that are advanced at meditation, and he uses their intention to open up portals on this planet and connect them with other portals that we're making in the atmosphere around this dimension. And we connect to these points on Earth, 2 points on Earth and one, well, it depends. We're basically triangulating and creating 3 points and then 3 other points, and we're creating a Merkaba, which is like 2 pyramids, and then we're spinning those pyramids with our minds. This is why it's important to have people that are advanced at meditating, because we need to be advanced at imagining and creating visuals with our consciousness, connecting the energy of that, feeling it, trusting it, and then manipulating it. And so we're spinning, and then there's the point where the 2 spins meet, and that's what he calls 0 point or center point. 0 point, I think, was his terminology. This was 2016ish and 17, and we're opening up portals like that. And in one of these sessions, and we would put all of our heads together, and we would get underneath the Pandora Star light machine while we're all doing these visuals. And we had to meditate for 6 hours before we even started to clear out any distraction, any tension we have, any negative thoughts that we have in our body, so that we were complete and clear vessels. And then we were doing these crazy meditations, like I just explained, twice a day. And then we did this for like 7 or 8 days. On the last day, we climbed up to Mount Shasta. I had to carry a big white pop-up tent, and a bird spoke to us, and we went and we found the Telos Porto. The Telosians are essentially the Lemurians who are now living underneath Mount Shasta, and there's a city, Telos, that is there underneath the earth. And so we were guided to this one particular spot, and then we set up a tent with the floor, put the light machine, all of us got in there, went into the zone, started spinning, and I just ejected out of my body, and the earth, to me, I watched it open up, this portal. It opened up, and what seemed like ice started shooting out of it. Like, if you guys remember, like, Silver Surfer, that's like shooting ice as he's surfing on the ice. It was like that ice started just pouring, like shooting out of the earth. It looked like ice to me because it was snowy when we were there, so everything was covered in snow. So it looked like ice. Just the earth opened up, and then I noticed that dark, like, shadows were coming out of this ice, and then I realized that it wasn't ice, it was more like crystal. And then all of a sudden a doorway opened next to this, like, spewing out of, like, crystals coming out, like roadways of crystals, that it seemed like entities were traveling in and out of the earth. And then someone said I'm freezing up. It's probably because the story I'm telling is not supposed to be told so clearly, so you guys are going to get aspects of it. And so a door opens up next to this roadway of crystals, and I enter into it, and it's like a slide. And so now I'm sliding down into the earth, and there's booby traps, like kind of like how, like, Indiana Jones type booby traps, where there's like shards of earth like sticking into the slide that I'm sliding down. And I remember just trusting that it's okay. I am transcended from this physical reality, and I'm operating in another dimension. So even though I can maneuver down this slide, if there's physical danger, I'm going to pass through it. And I don't even know how I knew that. It was just the vibration that I was in. It was like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. These spikes don't mean anything. And I was just able to float on through. Thinking back now, and also listening to other people's stories, like Admiral Byrd, who went into the inner Earth in the pole. Was that Operation Bluebird? I forget. But and then there, like, the only way that you can go and get access to these other dimensions is to be in an ascended state. And things like fear of danger of the physical body, that's what fear is. It's the fear of death that all of our cells feel because we're attuned to be in this physical body, which keeps us in this dimension. And so if we're going into another dimension, we're not tied to fearing physical pain. And so that slide, again, this is not happening while I was doing it. I was just observing, but thinking and giving myself an explanation of why were there booby traps was to assure that I would be stopped if I was still tied to this physical vehicle, to this ego, which is all important here. And so I slide down through all these booby traps, then all of a sudden I'm in the inner Earth. I had never astral projected before. I've never left my body, but I'm like watching myself and experiencing myself at the same time, and somehow aware that I'm laying down on a cold earth with all these other people meditating. But that was like so far distant. It was like I had to really reach to get to that level of consciousness, and I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in this. But around this time when I started going down there, it was hard for me to grasp. It was hard for me to hold on to what was next. And what was next was some sort of conversation that I was having with these tall, white-robed and white-haired and white-skinned beings. There's some sort of communication. I don't remember words. I don't remember anything. I couldn't make sense of anything. It was getting hard for me to hold on to that. And so I just had that experience, and then the awareness of me laying down in my physical body was getting stronger and stronger, and then I was pulled out of whatever else I was experiencing. I don't know why I was talking about that, but thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for guiding me there. Operation High Jump? No. It sounds like that though. It's like that. Ra, your vibration is very intense. The day I was introduced to you was very peculiar. Keep working on yourself. I embrace you and love. Yes. To that. If you were a professional extreme athlete today, how would you leverage that platform for yourself? This is a question from CJ. For yourself and humanity in the best way. So here's the thing, guys. People are interested in what you're doing. Share it. So, CJ, learn the game. How would I leverage it? Attention. Attention is power. Alignment of others into your vision is power. And so, if CJ's an extreme athlete right now, what are you going to do after that, right? So I always look at everything as a stepping stone. Even Purium is training me how to present on stages. And now I have another gig with Human Garage. And now I'm on stage with them. And that was exactly my intention, is like I'm learning how to speak in front of crowds of people. I've done that my entire life. And I'm a shy, introverted person. It's like my greatest fear. But that's where I'm the most powerful. That's my zone of genius. Somehow it works out that way. The thing that I fear the most is the thing that I'm the best at, and it's what I've been That's been my career my entire life. And so I look at what I do with Purium as training, because when I look at myself 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, I'm looking at myself influencing lots of people and learning the skills that I need now to network, to present, to overcome objections, to influence. That's all going to benefit my 60-year-old version of self. Who knows? I think something like politics, but a different version of the politics that we know today. But this is a stepping stone to that. So your extreme athletic venture that you're on right now is a stepping stone. To what? And that's going to give you a purpose and intention for how you use that stepping stone. How are you developing yourself within this? Where do you see the next step? You're not going to be doing this forever. Maybe you are, but the game's going to change. The game's going to change when you become aware of the game and set the rules. You create what the purpose is. And so figure that out, because odds are you're being gratified on a lot of different levels right now. You're a superstar, and you're living that superstar life. If I were an extreme athlete right now living the rock star lifestyle, I would start thinking ahead. Because right now, every day is probably glorious for you. As a professional athlete, I mean, I know what it's like to do something that you love every single day. And the trap there, the shadow side of that, is that you're just in the moment. And so, love what you're doing now. What would the promoted, elevated version of that be? Not even that we're thinking about the future, but like right now, what would the promotion be? What would the elevated level be? And then that'll give you answers on how to use your platform, how to use your skill set. You're valuable right now to a certain degree. How else? Because a professional athlete is essentially a marketed asset that other people benefit off of. Mostly it's sponsors and advertisers, right? They're utilizing the professional athletes to influence an audience to do certain things, to buy certain goods, to make choices. That's what a professional athlete does. Is there a way you can utilize your platform to benefit people that, in a way that you choose? And what does that look like? That'd be a little bit about how I would operate. Thank you for your sincerity, Ra. I enjoy this so much. What is the spiritual community's role in ending the genocides? Why does the spiritual community stay so quiet? I don't know if they stay so quiet. You can't solve a problem the same way that it's that created it. So, I don't know if it's a quiet thing as so much as it's playing a different game. In the current game, we have genocides. Are we going to keep on playing that same game, or are we going to create a different game? And creating a different game seems like you're indifferent to the genocide. But when you look around, there's enough people who are advocates and adversaries and basically playing that game and losing, obviously. The elites have a pretty strong hold on control. And so, what do? Do we just need more people to fight? Need more people to point fingers? Or are we going in another direction, creating a new reality, creating a new option, a new way of being for humans? And it might be an exploration. We might be going in a wrong direction, but we're exploring something else. For me, it seems that trying to change things through force is going to take at least 100 years. At least. In our current consciousness, where we're warring and fighting over territory, like if we're going to try to make everything even and make sure everybody's taken care of, that's going to take at least 100 years and probably never, because of who we are as humans. However, if something changes in our consciousness and something clicks on that allows us to have ascended abilities as humans, where as I'm driving down the road right now, I can feel this person right now in this pickup truck, this person right here that's passing me in this BMW, that Range Rover, I can actually feel their essence. I can feel what they're feeling. I can feel the people on the street. I can feel the cashiers in the store. I can feel my neighbors. I can feel my family members' emotions as if they were my own, where the boundaries of self dissolve. It's going to be very difficult to be competing with each other, because once we know that we're all one, which is when we're talking about spiritual community in the religions, that's what you're working towards. Even Christianity, what is it all for? So when you go to heaven, be one with God, right? So can we compress that and accelerate that process now? And that's what the spiritual community is working on. I don't want to speak for everyone, but just stereotypically, that's what they're working on. They're working on knowing themselves, overcoming their own traumas, teaching others to overcome their traumas, so you can know yourself more, so you can all make better decisions, so that we can unify as a whole collective, where things like war and genocide and raping and pillaging would be impossible. It would be impossible because we have literal connection with everybody else here. And that's the philosophy of what the next version of the human is in many different cultures. This golden era, this new human, is the human that is enlightened, is the all-seeing, all-feeling. It is total embodiment, total responsibility. And we're doing it blindly, without any guarantee that any of this is ever going to happen. But that's the direction that me personally, and again, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but that's the direction that me personally are taking. I've been in the fighting, pointing, advocating, warrior phase. I've been through that. And right now, that's integrated into me, but also at the same time working on these other processes that may or may not be important for life here on Earth. Have no idea. Have you been through a phase? What's the point of posting videos? I can just go meditate in peace and not care of society and teachings. I'll try and make sense of that question. Yes, after I closed my gyms, I went and sat under waterfalls and walked on mountaintops. And eventually, I got an urge to be a productive member of society. And so that's why I'm here now. Shortly after I closed my gym, the plan was to move to the Himalayas. I had it all set up. I was going to be a mentor in a Buddhist community where my role was to teach kids how to speak English. And I would do that for a few hours a day, and then I would have the rest of the day to just be in this Buddhist community, 3 days walk from the nearest road, 12,000 feet elevation, no hot water, no electricity. I forgot about this. And my passport had expired, and I was renewing my passport, and I was expediting it. And 3 days before I was about to leave, I already was selling all my stuff, giving away all my stuff. I was detached completely. 3 days before I was about to leave, my passport got denied because the birth certificate that I turned in had some holes in it from being folded, for 30 years. It had some rips and holes in it, and they were like, no, we can't honor your passport because your birth certificate, you need a new birth certificate. And I like to read reality, and so for me, I was like, all right, this is actually the second time I was going to leave. I was going to leave before I opened my gyms. I was going to go open my gym in Dubai, pretty much Dubai, because I went and checked out Brazil and China and was like, these aren't the places. So the next place I was going to go was Dubai to see if I was going to open up a gym there, because I wanted to get out of America, because this place was, I was pointing my finger then. I was like, this place is not the place I want to be. And I met a guy who basically said, hey, if everybody that has this awareness that you have of all the problems here, if everybody like you leaves, where does that leave the rest of us? And that stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, oh yeah, I can take on some of this responsibility of impacting life here in America. And so that stopped me from leaving then. And it just was like so much like a deja vu experience when my passport got denied, and it was 3 days before I was about to leave. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm here to stay. It's the same thing again. And that kept me here. And so I've definitely done the waterfall thing and the no money thing and what's it called? Renunciate. I renounced reality, and I was on my way to do that even more, but reality held me here. And man, I still think about that. Just how awesome that would be to just let go of everything. I had all the money from selling all the equipment from the gym. This was 2017, 18-ish. My plan was to just put it into Bitcoin. And then when I came out of the mountains, Bitcoin would be worth a lot more, which it was $3,000 at this time. And so I would have put like $30,000 into Bitcoin. I would own 10 Bitcoin right now at $60,000 each. So I would have came out as a I'm better off now, actually, now that I think about it. But I stayed, and I created a business that has brought in much more money than that with Purium. I'm curious as to your thoughts on socialism. Considering your interest in influencing the masses. I don't really have that much thoughts on socialism. Mostly because I haven't really looked much into it. When can we get to that point of oneness or the golden era? That's a good question. I mentioned earlier consistency, right? The goal isn't the finish line. And you don't get to cross the finish line by crossing the finish line. You don't just goal, finish line. That doesn't exist. The journey is the way. So right now we're on our journey. And the finish line is this thing that we're moving either towards or away. And consistently being the greatest version of ourselves, moment by moment, knowing ourselves, knowing others, attaining multiple perspectives of reality, being able to hold them all in our lens of perception at the same moment. Just like when I was talking about sliding down a slide in another dimension and also still being aware of myself in this physical body, holding those two contradicting realities in our essence at once. Being able to do that with multiple perspectives is going to give us the all-seeing perspective that I'm talking about. And it's a practice. And we practice it every single argument we get into, where it is our intention to make the other person see the way that we're seeing. And so can we break free from that paradigm and seek to see and harmonize with others so that we can find win-win solutions in our individual lives, so that we're all well practiced as individuals to do that? That's the only way to bridge over all of reality, to be able to do that with all of reality, is first we must getting a phone call from the wife.